All right, welcome back everybody to another Black Tide Digital podcast. It is Todd and Jared here. And as you can see on the screen, we've got a guest today. This is Trader Trav, is your handle on social, isn't it, Trav?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful. Look, Travis has got an extensive background when it comes to Web3, DeFi, and all that good stuff. And today we're going to be having a conversation. And this is obviously for those that are watching and listening, you know that we've obviously got B for Real, which is all about, you know, buying property, right? Getting yourself into real estate. And Trav is going to be talking about where he sees the future kind of going when it comes to Web3, DeFi, and that kind of good stuff. I guess the first thing, for those that don't know you, can you kind of give us your story, how you got involved in DeFi and crypto, and what you're doing now with yourself?
Yeah. So crypto for me started back in 2013 when Bitcoin reached $1,000 for the first time. So that's how I got. That's how I first heard of it, because it was all over the news for 2 or 3 days. A big deal back then, reaching that magic number. So I went down the rabbit hole on Bitcoin back then and bought some, and then, I'll start trading. And, I thought I was an absolute genius because, I win like 3 trades, like my first 3 trades or whatever I won. But then after that, it's just all downhill. I'd never traded before, didn't know what I was doing. So that was a good learning experience. I then decided that trading was too hard. And why would I do that when I can just mine Bitcoin? So I went and bought some graphics cards and started mining. And I did that for a bit. But this was back in now 2014. So the price was going down and down and down, heading into that bear market. And it was also like peak summer in Queensland. So, my rigs were constantly overheating. I had to have the air conditioner running as well, so that's extra cost. And I remember getting my first electricity bill after that, first mining foray, and I said, "Oh, geez, why am I doing this? Well, I could just buy it. I could just buy Bitcoin. It's so expensive. Like in Australia, really expensive. I mean, there are better places to be mining Bitcoin these days, like in Iceland or China, but they banned it there." But
I saw a graphic online, I think last night, that said one of the cheapest places to mine currently is Sudan, over in Sudan.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they did like a cost comparison in regards to how much it cost to mine 1 Bitcoin, and I think this place, it was Sudan, was like $1,500 or $2,000 to mine 1 Bitcoin. And then I scrolled down the list, right, and there's like over 150 countries that are kind of listed there. Australia is right down there. It's like $35,000 to mine 1 Bitcoin. So you're at a loss.
I know, but here's the kicker though. And back then, each graphics card was making me 0.1 Bitcoin per day. But, Bitcoin back then wasn't worth very much. But so it only just paid for my electricity. I said, it's not really worth it. But obviously, with hindsight, if I had just kept going and paid the electricity myself,
hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Yeah, right. And then I sort of gave up on Bitcoin for a while, because in that bear market, lots of people just left and thought it was the end. But then it started coming back in 2017. So in between then and 2017, I had moved on to trying to. I still want to get investing and earning money. So I started doing Forex trading. It was a bit more structured, and they had, classes, and, there's heaps of stuff on Forex trading, but not much on crypto back then. So the course that I did and the community that I was with, a few of the guys were going, "Hey, I just did the same thing in this trade on Bitcoin or whatever, it might have been Ethereum or whatever." And they said, check out the return I got. And I said, holy shit. So basically a few of us sort of just stopped, and then we closed our FX accounts and then, moved it all over to crypto, and then just started trading that. So that's how I got into crypto trading again, after I had been doing, Forex for a little bit while. So that's where I learned, my technical analysis. And then from there it was, I started my Facebook group at around the same time because I wanted to share charts you know, and talk about setups and whatever. And the crypto groups at the time were very, you know, Bitcoin maxi, didn't believe in charts. It was, you know, just very simple. And if you tried to, you know, draw lines or, you know, Fibonacci or whatever, they would just go, oh, this stuff doesn't work. And I go, oh, okay. So I just started my own group just basically for that, because there was a bunch of people in the other larger groups that were into it, but they were, you know, just the haters. It was just getting drowned out. Started my own group just because of that reason, and it's been running ever since. And it's a free group, and yeah, there's about 10,000 people in there now. And speaking at conventions, and did the Australian Crypto Conference a couple of weeks ago on the Gold Coast, and been doing the Aussie Crypto Roadshow as well.
Nice to kind of recap that. So, you know, you started doing mining originally. You did trading.
Trade.
Yes.
Yeah, so I bought the Bitcoin, started the trade, realized I couldn't do it, did the mining,
Did some Forex.
and then came back to trading. The way that I trade, or traded back then, I don't trade that way now.
Yep.
It's similar, but only because the market's different, right? Because crypto is way more volatile, and you know, you are trying to find the narrative more than you are trying to follow the economics. So, like in Forex, it's all about the economics. You know, what's this policy doing, and what's this government going to do, and because it affects, you know, national currencies. Whereas crypto is more, what's the narrative now? What's this meme? Like, oh, Elon tweeted, so therefore Dodge is going to pump. Like stupid shit like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just figuring out what
are the signals?
Yeah, follow the narrative. But you know, in saying that, Bitcoin is getting very, you know, correlated to the Nasdaq now. So you know, people are talking about Fed interest rates and things where we never really talked about that before previously because it didn't matter.
Yep. And what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel like Bitcoin getting more correlated to the Nasdaq has to do with the amount of institutional interest in Bitcoin?
Yeah, definitely. It's all, you know, because they're all, it's really the only one of the very few things that they can get into with size, right? So they will have their, you know, their bots, their arbitrage bots and whatever else that they use. So, you know, they're hedging and they're buying, and yeah, so whatever they're doing with the Nasdaq and all their other stock plays, you know, especially those investment banks that are having Bitcoin in a portfolio, that Bitcoin is now part of their algorithm that they use to sort of, you know, weigh things up and down or whatever they're going to buy. So I guess, you know, in order to get crypto mainstream, you know, you need it to be legal, I guess. You need the regulation there to protect the innocent people that don't know what they're doing. But there's even pro crypto guys, especially in the NFT space, are getting ripped off for their Bored Apes. So there's some guy, even I think it was yesterday, he lost 7
Bored Apes.
Yep, lost 7. And I was like, I go, what? And like, he was just clicking on dumb links and approving contracts that he should be. And I'm going, oh, look, if the guys that do this every day are still getting wrecked, then how is, you know, regular Joe going to survive? So regulation from that point of view is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it's a bit of a balancing act, right? Because you don't want to kind of regulate it out of existence, and we definitely kind of, you know, I don't think you're in crypto or Bitcoin because you want to necessarily, I don't want to say play by the rules. We all want to play by the rules, but you know, you want to do things differently, right? You want to kind of like change it up a little bit, but at the same time, those regulations were kind of there to protect consumers a lot of the time, and particularly unwary consumers. So there's definitely a balancing act there, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
So that kind of brings us to the point. So now, with inside of your group, you're effectively helping the average person learn how to trade and, I guess, tap into the opportunities that Web3 presents. Is that right?
Yep. More so, I think my group, well, since I started it, it's been more about trading and DeFi stuff. I don't really talk about NFTs per se, just because I'm not in the space. I mean, I have dabbled in it and traded it, but I don't know enough about it to go out and say, hey, you know, you should go and buy this NFT project because of, you know, whatever reasons. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable in doing that. But the other DeFi stuff and the trading stuff, sure. And, you know, what Web3 will enable isn't just NFTs. So, you know, being able to just use your wallet to sign into stuff and not have to provide not even a username or a password is going to be really, really good for adoption, because doing that is really simple, right? You just click connect. You don't even have to do username password anymore. So for adoption, it is the way forward.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, because, you know, when this goes out, there are going to be people that are watching this that are relatively savvy, and there will be some that are not, which is great, because the more people that are not and watch this kind of stuff, the more they learn. So for those that don't know, what is DeFi? How would you kind of unpack that for someone?
So
why
DeFi,
should they care?
Why should they care? DeFi stands for decentralized finance. And what the movement is trying to do is replicate traditional finance in a decentralized way on the blockchain, or using blockchain. So cutting out all the middlemen, cutting out all the red tape, all the regulation. So, you know, bringing it back to be for real, let's say you could have a house represented as an NFT. So that would be like the deed to the house. And I wanted to buy the house from you. All we would have to do is you give me the NFT for the house, and then I give you some money, and it's done. And there's no waiting period. There's no legal stuff or lawyers or anything that you have to worry about, and it's just done. You know, there would need to be a whole raft of stuff done in the background with, say, councils and whatever, that actually recognize that an NFT is a house, but essentially at a high level, that's what it represents, right? So the other things are, you know, just simple banking stuff like, you know, borrowing and lending, and you know, savings accounts, and then you got more advanced stuff like trading, spot trading, leverage trading, options. Yeah, so yeah, the whole thing's just trying to be replicated on the blockchain. So
yep. And what's the, I guess, what kind of opportunities are there for people when it comes to getting involved in DeFi when they learn how to do it properly?
So the opportunities, well, I guess a simple one would be, instead of putting your money in a bank or the whatever it is, 0.1% or 0.01% savings interest, what even high interest savings accounts these days are what,
3 to 4%.
Like but you're locked in for what, 2 years? Or
48 months. Yeah,
right. So in DeFi, for the most part, there is no lock-ins. You could put your money into we'll just call it a savings account. It's effectively that, but into a staking contract for literally 1 second if you wanted to. It would be a complete waste of time, because you got to pay fees to get in and get out. But that's the freedom that you have and the choice that you have. And the yield that you get varies from, you know, nothing all the way up to, you know, tens or hundreds or thousands, depending on the market. Like, we're in a bear market right now. So, you know, the best you're probably going to get be like 4, 5 or 6% for stable coins. For volatile coins like, you know, Ethereum, Bitcoin, you know, Solana, that sort of stuff that aren't stable coins, the yield is higher. And you might get 20% or 10% or whatever it is. So in 12 months' time. The other thing would be, you know, like be your own bank sort of stuff, where if you've got a whole bunch of coin and you can lend it out to people, because other people need those coins to trade with, especially the people that are trying to leverage trade. So they will want to say, if you've got your Ethereum or Solana and you're not using it currently, you can put it into a lending and borrowing protocol, deposit it in there, you'll earn an interest rate yield that this other person is paying you. So you are the bank and you are lending it out, so they're paying an interest rate to you. They'll take your coin and do whatever the hell they want with it. And then they will repay the loan, and then you get your money back.
This is actually this is a good point, Trav. I'll just quickly stop there to unpack it a little bit more, because this is actually something we hear people say quite frequently, which is, you know, where's all this money come from? You can't just, you know, I put my coin here and then I just make all this magic money. So this is good. Before we move on, just unpack that a bit more in regards to how DeFi generates these extra funds, because you started touching on it right there when you're explaining lending. Could you just kind of unpack that a bit more in regards to where the money's made?
So the money is made, well, there's several ways. So one is, you know, through revenue, right? So for the legit projects anyway. So because we'll get to the other ones in a second. So the legit projects, like say the borrow lending protocols or the DEXs, which is decentralized exchanges, they charge fees for people using the platform, right? So if you're making a trade, generally it's about 0.3% on a DEX. So like Uniswap charges that. Sushi, I think, charges 0.3, but liquidity providers only get 0.25 or something. So they're actually generating revenue from the people using it. So that money is real. And if you're in a borrow and lending protocol, if you want to take a loan out, you have to usually pay a loan initiation fee, and that varies depending on the platform as well. And then you pay an ongoing, interest rate, and that goes to the lender. The platform takes the borrower initiation fee, right?
So effectively, when people, because for those
and traders as well. So traders will because in leverage trading in DeFi, they are obviously trading and generating yield, but if they're leverage trading, they're borrowing and they're constantly they may not realize it, but they're constantly having to borrow and unborrow all the time. So there's fees associated with that.
So if you participate in something like staking, then effectively you can obviously you're a liquidity provider. So the yields that you're getting back is from the fees that are charged by the DEXs. Is that right? You get like a small cut.
Yeah.
Then when you're doing lending and borrowing, effectively you're, especially if you do peer-to-peer, then you're effectively getting an interest rate on what you lend to someone. Is that right?
Yep.
And it kind of touched on what you said before. It's about removing the banks and the third parties. It allows you to do transactions directly with other people. Is that right?
Yep.
We've unpacked DeFi, which is great for those that are just the average listener that don't really know it. So I want to kind of move into the topic of today's chat, which is how can people safely enter this space? What do they need to do to safely enter this space? And what are some strategies?
So safety, I think, obviously of paramount importance. So you need to figure out, when you're creating these wallets, you have your hardware wallet where the most of your money is, and the only way you can get to it is you actually have the hardware wallet in your hand signing the transactions, but you don't want to be walking around the streets with that. So your hot wallet is just the one that you can have on your phone or in a web extension in Chrome. The security of that isn't like Fort Knox or anything, right? So, Chrome extensions get abused all the time and whatever. So you want to, like, if you've got a virus on your computer and that could affect your Chrome extension. So you want to make sure that firstly you have all your virus up, antivirus stuff up to date, and Trojans and malware and that sort of stuff up to date and clean it. The people that take this super seriously have a dedicated machine to do crypto on, and you don't need anything super high powered, right? This is just website stuff. You could get a secondhand laptop off Facebook Marketplace for a couple $100. Wipe it clean, reinstall whatever your operating system when you want to use, and just have a browser and away you go, and just don't use it for anything else and you'll be fine, right? So that's I think that's the first thing. The second thing would be, for any dApp that you want to use, you really do need to figure out what they're like, what their goals are, what their missions are, they funded, who's funding them, why are they funding them, were they first to the game, or are they a copycat? Generally, the dApps that were there first are the legit ones, and the ones that follow them and the third and the fourth and the fifth iteration are usually just copy paste with a different color scheme, right?
Yep.
They're just there for a quick buck and they will leave you. So you want to research the team. You remember that this whole DeFi be your own bank thing really means that, like, you are the CEO, you're the CTO, the COO, you are the head of security. There's no helping you if you forget your password. If you lose your money, it's gone. Like, good luck. Like, Interpol isn't going to go, oh yeah, no worries, we'll get it back for you. So very important. You need to be aware that you are on your own. I mean, you got friends, you got people like you and me, and that we can help and give ideas and tips and whatever. But if it's gone, it's gone. So you need to be aware of that. Putting your money into staking contracts, can you get it out immediately? Some of them have time locks on them. Not a lot these days, but there are some that try and incentivize you to leave it in there. And if you do leave it in there, they give you extra whatever it is that they're giving away at the time. And the nefarious ones, what they do is it's sort of like keeps your money in the system. So when they're ready to rug pull you, there's more money in there for them to take. It sucks people in, say, oh, if I leave it in here for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, then I'll get an extra bonus of 10% or whatever it is. So, more of the whole, if it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Are you telling me that 134,000% interest is not realistic?
Not long term. Not long. There have been times when it has been, and the only time that it is when a protocol is first starting, right? So they might they'll have a fixed amount of rewards that they need to give away. Staking contract currently only has 1 or 2 people in it, and at that point in time, all the rewards are going to those 2 people. So effectively, it is crazy APY. And as soon as people see that, they go, "Oh yeah, awesome, free money,"
and then it dilutes.
More people start jumping in. And then the rate starts to fall. So because it's the same amount of rewards spread amongst more people.
Yeah.
That's the only time that it's legit. But they love doing it, the protocols, because they will use it as a marketing tool. And they'll say, oh, look at our new protocol. And we got these rewards and everybody come along. And as soon as everybody comes along, it drops down to 10 or 5. And they go, oh, this is bullshit, mate. What happened? Right?
And then they've got it. Then they've got something built into it where you can't withdraw your money.
Oh yeah, and then that happens. Like, oh, I can't even withdraw it for a week, and so you need to figure that sort of stuff out before you start jumping in.
So if I'm hearing this right, the 2 core ways that somebody can really, I'd say two most relatively simple ways that someone could use DeFi to generate extra funds for, whatever it might be. Obviously, we're talking about real estate. So, maybe a deposit or paying off their mortgage or money towards their mortgage, is you've got a more passive approach, which would be effectively having some tokens that you send to a staking contract and generate a yield, maybe like you're an LP provider, or maybe the other way would be then borrowing and lending, right? And that'd be more of a passive approach, because effectively you send your money there, you lock it up, and when you need it, it gets unlocked. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it's not even locked. Like, you just put it in there and you can take it out whenever you want.
Yep. And then the more active one, then, if you wanted to be more active, would then actually be trading. Is that right?
For yield, if you're using money to save for a mortgage and trading, I personally wouldn't do that. That's just me.
Okay. Yep.
You can, there's advanced things that you can do, I guess, from carry trades, or because you can earn yield via that. So that would be like long spot and short the perpetual, because there's this thing called funding. So when somebody is shorting the market, they have to essentially borrow the coin to short it, because you got to sell first, wait for it to go down in price, and then rebuy it. So you got to pay a funding rate on that. And that goes to the person on the other side of the trade. So you could be that person, but don't want to be that person if the price is going all over the place. So you're at that risk. So what people do is they'll go long and short at the same time. So one position is canceling out the other. So if price goes up, the long wins, but the short loses, and vice versa. And then you are collecting the funding. So, I mean, that's pretty common in traditional finance too. So that's not like unique to DeFi, but it's something that you can do without any middlemen.
So a safer bet would be to engage with strategies such as staking and the borrowing and lending protocols.
Yeah. To start with, I mean, if you already know how to trade, you probably already know what I'm talking about with the whole, carry thing. But that's definitely something possible. I think even there are protocols that are trying to obfuscate it. So, You just put your money in their staking contract, then they go and open the position for you.
Yep.
And then, you know, they'll charge you, or they'll take it. They won't charge you a fee. They'll take, you know, like 10% of whatever the profit is that you would have gotten, and you get the rest.
Mm.
And there's new stuff coming up all the time. So there's these difficult things that you can do in traditional finance that they are being replicated in DeFi. But then another group that already knows how to do it really well, they make a protocol which sits on top of all of that and goes, put your money in here, and then we'll just give you the yield.
Yep.
So basically, the risk of that is you got to trust them.
Yep.
And then you got to hope that their strategy actually works out, and they don't get exploited, and they don't stuff up, or that, you know, their protocol has safeguards in case, you know, the market nukes or whatever. So.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm just watching the time. I don't want to go over too long and basically have people here for 2 hours. Where do you see, I guess, what's your thoughts over the next 2 to 3 years in regards to changes, you know, growth? Where do you kind of see the whole Web3 DeFi space kind of moving towards?
I think we, the crypto natives and whatever, will continue on the path that we're continuing on, which is trying to decentralize the world and let people do whatever they want to do with their own money. And I think Web3 will start to get bigger and make it easier logging in, whatever, just with wallets and stuff. But then I see at the same time, governments are going to start to try and regulate things and make, you know, like those central bank digital currency, like the CBDCs, and they're going to start to try to track us more. I don't know whether that's good or bad or not. I can see some bad things and some good things. Just the regulation in itself, keeping people safer is a good thing. But yeah, I think like there's a whole. I think there's going to be a whole lot of stuff going on in parallel. So even with GameFi and NFTs, like even now, that's their own market. So the prices that are happening in NFTs now aren't really, like if the Fed chair comes out and says they're going to drop interest rates or cutting or raise interest rates, the NFT market doesn't really react to that per se, right? So I think that's going to do their own thing. GameFi and Metaverse, I think, is going to take a lot longer than what people think. I think it'll come, but it's going to take a lot longer than what people think. So getting into those sorts of things now, you really need to have a really long time horizon, unless you have a company that does something backwards, meaning that they deliver the product first, then raise the token. Because all I've seen so far now is, oh, I've got this great idea for this game or whatever, and then they do the ICO for the token and everybody buys it and the price goes up and everyone's happy, but then nothing gets released for the next 3 or 4 years because that's how long it actually takes to make a game.
Yep.
So the price goes up because of hype and promise and narrative, but there's no actual product to use. And everybody just goes, oh, it's not here yet. Meh. And, oh, here's the next new shiny thing over here, and I'll do that.
Yep. Well, mate, it's been a good conversation. If people want to reach out, have a chat, follow you, learn some trading strategies, kind of get involved in your world, what's the best way? And we lost Jared, for those that are watching. His computer dropped out, so he's gone. We won't even let him back in. But if they want to reach out and be in contact with you and get involved in your world, what's the best way to do that?
Best way to do that, I'm active on Twitter and Facebook. So you can follow me on Twitter at trader_Travis. You can find me on Facebook at the Crypto Mastermind. So I run a group that is a mastermind. There's confusion there. I'm calling myself a mastermind. I'm definitely not. But yeah, I run a mastermind group. So just type in the Crypto Mastermind. You might see the shirt. There it is. If you see that bull symbol, that's me. And I've got a website, www.thecryptomastermind.com. There's all the links to Twitter and Facebook and everything's all there. That's probably the easiest way. And maybe if you come to Perth, you guys will be in Perth, yeah?
Yeah, we'll be there. Perth show.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, the Perth show. So I won't be in the Perth show, but next time the roadshow comes to Sydney or Melbourne, I'll be at that one.
Beautiful.
You'll see me in person next.
Wonderful. All right, Trav. Well, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll clock this off now. Once again, guys, for those that are watching, make sure you like, share, subscribe, go and join Trav's group on socials and get learning. Trav knows his stuff when it comes to trading and DeFi and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely go and get learned. Anyway, guys, take care. Thank you so much. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.